Imagine being deeply hurt by someone you trust completely. The sting is sharp, but the lingering pain comes from a confusing realization: you still care. An enemy cannot break your heart. That specific kind of destruction requires access. It requires someone who has already been allowed inside your defenses, someone who previously made you feel secure. 4 centuries ago, William Shakespeare mapped this exact psychological territory. In his 34th sonnet, he captures the confusing aftermath of being let down by someone you love. The poem uses an atmospheric shift from sunlight to rain to track the internal movement of a relationship in crisis. This poem belongs to the sequence known as the Fair Youth Sonnets. Throughout these verses, the speaker documents his intense admiration and deep affection for a young man. Sonnet 34 signals a pivot in this narrative. The praise of the earlier poems is replaced by the friction of a real-world mistake. The speaker has been wronged. The young man caused him harm, recognized his mistake, and offered an apology. That setup leaves us with a compelling question. If a sincere apology is on the table, why does the speaker refuse to simply wipe the slate clean and move on? Shakespeare answers this by delaying the betrayal itself. He starts the poem by establishing the baseline of the relationship before the offense occurred. The speaker compares the young man to a bright morning sun. He describes a warmth that spreads across the landscape, creating a perfect, welcoming day. This animated map breaks down how Shakespeare uses that sunshine. The central sun radiates outward into 3 distinct emotional states for the speaker: sheer optimism, complete emotional safety, and absolute trust. We have to recognize how bright and comforting this initial environment was. Without understanding the absolute safety the speaker felt, the coming drop wouldn't register as a true shock. Then, without warning, the environment turns hostile. Ugly clouds rapidly eclipse the bright sun, casting a sudden, sharp shadow over the ground. This meteorological shift mirrors human behavior. The sudden darkness represents a severe, unexpected emotional injury inflicted upon the speaker by the young man. The psychological cruelty lies in the source of the injury. The pain is emanating from the exact same person who, just moments before, was providing the speaker's warmth and comfort. That is the defining trait of Shakespeare's storm. It is the disorienting shock of realizing that your safe harbor is the direct cause of your heartbreak. As the sonnet continues, the weather breaks. The dark clouds part, and the sun returns to the sky. Translating this back to the relationship, the young man realizes his mistake. He feels deep remorse for his actions and offers the speaker a sincere apology. A predictable narrative would use this clearing weather as a cue for a tidy, happy ending where all is forgiven. Shakespeare rejects that neat resolution. Instead, he pivots to a highly realistic observation about the limits of an apology. The speaker does not doubt the young man's sincerity. He accepts the apology as genuine, but insists that the damage remains. To explain why, Shakespeare shifts from weather to medicine. He speaks of a salve being applied to a bruise. It is a weak relief that might soothe the surface pain, but cannot reach the deeper injury. This split-screen model illustrates the disconnect. On the top, the salve represents the offender's intent, a sincere apology. But on the bottom, we see the disgrace, the reality of the original act. The poem is blunt. The salve cannot mend the disgrace. Good intentions cannot reach back in time to undo the betrayal. Medicine can treat a wound, but it cannot make it so the wound never happened. In the exact same way, words cannot instantly unbreak human trust. Shakespeare strikes a delicate balance here. He holds space for compassion by accepting the apology, while maintaining valid criticism by refusing to ignore the pain. He discards the idea that relationships are neatly divided between villains and victims. People make mistakes, and they often genuinely regret those mistakes. Saying sorry matters, but the speaker reminds us that while the young man's tears might act as a salve for the initial sting, they do not automatically erase the history of the offense. Healing requires the slow, difficult work of rebuilding the trust that was washed away in the rain. Actions carry consequences far beyond their intentions. A sincere apology can certainly bring back the sunshine, but it cannot erase the storm.